So in this video, I wanted to do a quick review of the Hobonichi Techno planner. I'll be specifically looking at the Avec, which is the half-year model in the A6 size. So this is pretty much the cheapest planner they would sell, but this review should be indicative of most of the rest of the Hobonichi Techno series. These are basically high-end paper planners from Japan, and they have some English in them. The Avec model, which this is, has the most English, but you could probably tell from the packaging, it's mostly in Japanese. Notable details about this is, again, the company's Hobonichi Techno is their line of planners. They're yearly planners, and then this one is actually a half-year planner. You can see Avec, that's the half-year model, and then months 7 through 12. The other notable things, this has a 3.7 millimeter grid, so it's very, very tiny. And then it's hard to make out the rest here, but we can see that this is 1,100 yen, so $11 in the Japan, which is very reasonable. This sells for more like $20 here in the US. And then we also see this is the A6 size, so that's the smallest size this comes in. There's also an A5, and then if you buy the biggest one out there, it's called the Cousin, but that will cost you like $50. On that A6 size, again, very small. Here's it next to a kind of standard pen. If you look at it on here, these are half-inch markings. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches tall, and 1, 2, 3, 4 inches wide. Just about. It's not exactly it, but close enough. So it has a nice binding. It's kind of a, I guess it's kind of a leatherette material, fake leather. It's a sticker binding. The color is, I think they call it sky blue, but it's really, I would call it a seafoam green. It's kind of a light pale green. You see Hobonichi Techno 2019, and then it's the second half of the year. You could have bought the first half. This is obviously a little bit more useful now. And that model, again, is called the Avec. It's about 8 or 9 millimeters thick, so very reasonable. And it's 240 pages. So you could probably guess that the paper width is very, very skinny. It's a light paper. It actually uses Tomoe river paper. So I've done videos on it in the past. Highly ink resistant, so your fountain pen ink looks good, but not the best dry time. In fact, dry times can be pretty high. But the flip side is that the paper is very, very light, and it's relatively tear resistant. So you get a very light, highly portable notebook. It's a soft cover, no surprise there. And very limited details on the outside. Nothing on the binding. You could probably add some tape if you want to keep track of these and keep them for later. But that's about it. Sorry, the color is called ice blue, not sky blue. Okay, this is obviously the second part of a 2-book set. I didn't buy the first one, but you can imagine it would be nice to have the half year for both of them. Inside the cover, you can see plain cardstock for the front cover. And now we get into kind of some of the features, and I'll run through the features and then I'll talk a little bit about what we're seeing. But one really important thing for non-Japanese speakers is that the Hobonichi Techno is largely in Japanese, and we can see that in all the rear material. Almost all in Japanese. You can see it says addresses for 6 people, and then all the Japanese. Obviously, the numerals are all kind of standard numerals that anyone from an English-speaking country would recognize, but most of the titles are in Japanese, as is most of the text. You can see, so full pages like that will be useless unless you're a Japanese reader. Clearly, probably some pretty interesting stuff here. World breakfast all day. I don't know, I'm like sort of fascinated by what this could be explaining and why I want it in my pocket every day. But I don't know, it is very cool stuff. regardless. Most of the Hobonichi Techno planners are entirely in Japanese. The Avec, you can see it actually uses a fair bit of English. So as an English speaker, I can go to a standard page like this. I can recognize the numerals here. Again, the numeral 10 for October, and then it actually says October here. So that's very useful. Skipping around, we could see 7/13, so that's the date. And there's enough English here that, or standard numerals that I could make do with this. But you will, even though like some of the notes here, just a little thing to make you happy, but then you don't know what the little thing is. So that's kind of the situation. Once you get into the back, then you're purely losing out on kind of all this rear matter. But again, it is nice that with the Avec model, you can see that at least the months are printed out. You can see August, so on and so forth. Okay, back to the features. Now we have the text explained. We have a full calendar. 2018 is here for whatever reason, I guess just for usefulness. Full year, full size 2019, and then the mini 2018-2020. Pretty cool. Now we get into sort of the, I don't know officially what I would call this, but this would just be for checking things off to probably entry, after you do your journal entry or your memo entry or whatever for that day, you could just check it off here. And there's a lot of this. Obviously, it might be hard to make out, but it's really nicely printed. Very clean page. It's Tomoe River paper, which is very nice. And then really nicely printed. No print errors, very clean. Text is small, but it looks great, highly legible. And you can see the coloring is really nice. We have a gray with a very clear white coming through, or it's kind of off, slightly bit off-white. And then we have a dark red, a lighter red. So multiple tones here to make everything as clear as possible. Now we get back into a calendar, more calendar. Again, here are, I guess, those 3.5 millimeter boxes. That's super tiny. I'm just gonna put in, how about a pen tip from a fountain pen? You could see the size of that medium nib relative to 3.5 millimeters. You are barely writing a single letter in one of those boxes. So it's more likely you're gonna be just coloring it in or using some sort of needle tip. And if you do a needle tip and you're careful, then you should be fine. But you're looking at a 0.25 or 0.38 millimeter for the best purposes here. Some blank space called turning the page. Just kind of probably some note space, and now we get into some full day pages. And this is where that thin paper is useful because you have a full page, full full A6 page for the second half of the year, which is quite cool. All the pages have the lower notes, which again, you're missing out on. You can see it shows the 2013, 2014 as a pair, which is just like a very nice UX type feature. And there's markings on the side. So 8 for the month, 9, and it switches colors, which is very cool. So it's color coded. We move over to a brown. 10, kind of a purple. Same format. 11, a green. 12, and all these pages are basically the same. You can see month, day. I believe that's the month and the day of the year, I believe. Not sure what that is. Kind of a checklist, to-do list type thing in here. And if you want to break up your day by hours, you'd use this in the rail. You are using I think it's by hours. That would make sense to me. I don't know why you would start at 6 and go down, but maybe someone could explain that in the comments. I guess maybe you're considering the day starting at 5 and going possibly till 3 a.m. And as like 3 a.m. on 12/10 is basically still part of 12/9. Seems practical if you stay up late, but definitely not super intuitive. So it's going to take some getting used to. So that is the end. The calendar keeps going and stops on 12/31 as expected. We have a timetable. This is just to plan out your week. If you have a standard week, more or less. Now it says graph paper. I'm not sure what you'd want to graph, but you have one page to graph things. Your favorites. Just, again, now we're in the note-taking section. You could list down some movies, some books, some music, some restaurants, some shopping, so on and so forth. And you could give it some star ratings. Pretty cool, just for keeping track of things throughout the year. Not quite sure what this is, just some open card type layout. Now, this is sort of stuff you're just losing out on if you're not a Japanese writer. Now your all-day world breakfast, which is very cool, and you can figure that out at worldbreakfast-allday.com if you're so inclined. Unclear what this is. And I believe this is holidays. So now we see an explanation of how to use the date side, which you would see from over here. Here is it explained, and then 420, 56, 52, 21. I believe this is just holidays. More pages. I'll start moving more quickly since there's a lot of them. We have some conversions here in case you need to do some quick math. Looks like just some conversions and division, nothing too complex. Gifts, personal notes, addresses for 6 people. This is like the sort of thing that reveals the weakness of the notebook to me. If you have an address section, great. 6 people is not really covering a whole lot, especially when you're coming from a world that's used to a cell phone. But it's, I don't know. I don't know why you would put just 6 in here. Either have an address section and have it, 40 plus people, or leave it out. But they try to get a little bit of everything in here. And given the size of the notebook, again, it's just about 8 or 9 millimeters thick. I understand why some things are short. Some personal notes. This would probably be contact information for the owner. And then just some back material. And this is just stuff for learning more about Hobonichi and their products. Blank, heavier paper, and then we have back to the cardstock. As far as the paper goes, I just wanted to do a quick test here and talk through it. Even though I have done a lot of work with the Tomoe River paper, I figured it'd be right. It makes sense to do this because people will ask. So let's see what section is appropriate for filling out. Let's go to a date that has passed, maybe. I got this thing a little bit late. So it is Tomoe River paper, so it's very smooth. If you go too fine, you might sort of dig into it So you're gonna have to be careful what you write with. This is I think a 0.3 millimeter needle tip, which gets the job done. You're probably gonna wanna write a little bit more slowly than I was writing. But you can see the actual show through, there's definitely some of it. That is just something you're gonna have to deal with this skinny paper. But also it becomes a little bit raised on the back. So maybe this needle tip was a little bit too skinny, because you could see that texture is just sort of coming through here. It didn't rip or anything like that, but you could definitely feel it and you could definitely see it. If we move over to kind of a more standard, like a ballpoint, you wouldn't want to use this one, which is an XB. Some show through, but again, you don't have that raised texture, so something a little bit smoother would probably make sense. This Hobonichi came with this cool little pen here and this little, I guess it's a bear. It is metal, so that's kind of cool. But I did want to check out their sample pen. Again, this was included as a perk. And this is just a Uni Jetstream 3 color pen. Comes with this cool, I guess it's a pink, a light pink. It says Hobonichi, so it is branded 2019. And now this is the this is a Jetstream. I believe it's a 0.5 millimeter. Some show through, but it's not raised like the needle tip. So maybe this might be the ideal situation. Again, very skinny paper. You're gonna have some issues with that down the road. So you're gonna wanna have to fine tune what you're writing with. Anyway, that was a deep dive into one of the most popular series of memo books or journal books, whatever you want to call it, sold today, the Hobonichi series. If you like this, let me know and I'll try to do some more. These are really, really cool products, and I'm not like a master user of them, but if you are relying on paper products for some of this planning and organization, this is really a great way to go. So that should about cover it. Thanks for watching.